In a previous video, we created a security list and a security rule to allow a remote system to ping an instance on the Oracle Compute Cloud service. In this video, we're going to enable a remote Windows host to SSH to an instance. The steps needed to enable SSH are similar to the steps needed to enable ping. We're first going to create a security list, but this time for SSH. We'll then add our instance to the security list. Next, we'll create a security rule, but this time for the SSH security application. We'll use the predefined security IP list named public internet as the source for the security rule. And for the destination, we'll use the SSH security list that we just created. This screen shows the instances in the Oracle Compute Cloud service. Our Craig instance, which was created in a previous video, is running. Note the public IP address of this instance. We'll attempt to log into our instance from Windows using PuTTY. We'll open PuTTY and configure a cloud session. With session selected, I'm going to enter the public IP address of our instance. Then under connection, I'm going to expand SSH and click AUTH. And in the private key file for authentication field, I'm going to click Browse and select the private SSH key file that we created in a previous video. Recall that the public SSH key file was added to the instance in a previous video. I'm going to click Data under Connection. In the auto login username, I'll enter OPC. The OPC user was created by default when you create an Oracle Linux instance using the wizard. I'm going to save this session and give it a name of Cloud so I can use it later. And I'll click Open to see if I can SSH into the instance. And notice that the connection times out, so there is more configuration needed. Close the error message and close PuTTY. We need to create a security list to enable SSH. So I'm going to click the Network tab. I'll click the Security List tab on the left. I'll click Create Security List. I'll give it a name of Craig _ security list _ enable _ SSH. I'll accept the default inbound policy of deny and the default outbound policy of permit. And for description, I'm just going to enter a security list to enable SSH access to my computer or to my instance. I'll click Create. You'll see the messages at the top right that the security list is being created. The new security list appears. However, it is not associated with an instance. So we need to add our instance to the security list. I'll click the Instance tab. I'll select View from the menu for our instance. I'll scroll down and I'll click Add to Security List. And I'll select the new SSH security list that we just created. And click Add and notice that the list appears. Let's see if we can PuTTY or SSH back into the instance again. So I'll open PuTTY. I'll load our cloud session that we saved and click Open. And again, the connection times out. So there is more configuration needed. We need to create a security rule for SSH. So I'm going to scroll up, click the Network tab. I'll click the Security List button, and you'll see that our SSH security list has an instance associated with it, but it does not have a security rule. So we're going to click the Security Rules tab, and then I'll click Create Security Rules. And for name, I'll just call it Craig _ security rule _ SSH. I will leave it enabled. For the security application, I'll select SSH. For the source, I'm going to click the Security IP List button and select the public internet list. For destination, I'm going to click the Security List button and select our SSH security list that we just created. And for destination, I'll just say security rule to allow my computer to SSH to the instance. I'll click Create. And the new security rule appears. I'm going to click the security list button, and you'll see now that we have an instance and a rule associated with our security list. So let's try one more time to SSH into our instance from PuTTY. So I'll open up PuTTY, I'll load the cloud session that we saved earlier, I'll click open, and now it works. The connection is successful. You're prompted to enter the passphrase that we entered when we created the SSH key pair in the previous video. You'll see that I'm logged in as the user OPC, and I'm residing in the OPC user's home directory. There's a .ssh directory in the home directory, and in there's an authorized key file. This contains the SSH public key that was added when we created the instance. To verify that, we'll go back to the web console, click the instance tab, click the view menu for our instance, scroll down to view the SSH public keys, and you'll see the key value there for our public key. And then I'll open up the connection again and compare, and you'll see that the contents of the authorized key file is in fact the same as the key value. To summarize, in this video we configure the networking to enable an external Windows host to SSH to an Oracle Linux instance in the Oracle Compute Cloud service. This process required us first to create a security list. We then added our instance to the list. We created a security rule for SSH. The source for our security rule was a predefined security IP list named Public Internet. The destination for our security rule was the security list that we created at the beginning of this video. All of this configuration allowed us to SSH to our instance from our remote Windows system. In the next video, we'll create an instance and allow both a Windows and an Oracle Linux external host to SSH to an instance.